All right, so back on the topic today of Mother's Day, I have a simple question to ask everybody. Why are all the anime moms dead?
I don't know.
きっと約束だよいつかまた同じ笑顔で
What up, everybody? Welcome back to the box, the Annie Chat box, that is, of course. Thank you for joining us on episode 18. I'm Cammie and I'll be hosting today. Extra happy to be hosting on episode 18 as 18 is one of my favorite numbers. And I am joined today by a full house that includes our mama gangsta and our lovely producer. She saves our lives. That is Cassie.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but hello!
I think so by our podcast. Okay, you save our podcast's life. That is true.
I just took an IV up to my arm and into my Vegas.
Oh God, exactly. And we are joined by our gentlemanly friend overseas. He's sitting there eating some biscuits and drinking tea, and that is Jonathan Joestar.
Hello. Great to be here.
I'm really sorry for stereotyping you there.
No, it's
Well, I mean, it's probably not wrong.
I'm actually sitting here with a cup of tea with me right now, so...
All right. And then we've got our gentleman of many voices and has currently been a Phantom Thief, as I think many of us have been, and that is Craigus von Maximus the Third, twice removed.
What up, Internet?
Okay, I think I didn't butcher your name too bad.
Nah, it's
So.
We come up with new ones like every week. It's fine.
We'll do constantly revolving nicknames. And we are all gathered here today on a very, very special day, and that is Mother's Day. We'd like to wish everybody out there happy Mother's Day to you and your family, any mother-like guardians, etc., etc. And how about a shout out to all those teachers that got called mom when they were teaching kids in school, because I definitely did that.
Here.
All right.
Fun fact, not actually Mother's Day here in the UK, but Mother's Day to everyone, if it is Mother's Day for you, regardless.
Well,
that's actually a really good point. I am so Americentric. All right. Well, happy American Mother's Day, everybody.
And to be fair, we're recording on Mother's Day, so we're going to be a week late anyway. So happy late Mother's Day.
I think the bottom line is appreciate your moms and mother figures because they love you and they do a whole lot for you.
Indeed.
So with that out of the way, I'm going to drop some social links. If you want to catch up with us on Twitter, you can follow us at twitter.com/theanniechatbox. You can send us some mail at anniechatmail@gmail.com. You can listen to us on any platform, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and SoundCloud. And if you're feeling generous and want to maybe toss a couple shillings our way, you can find us at patreon.com/theanniechatbox. But please send us money that actually is like usable and modern to this day. Thanks, appreciate it. All right, so back on the topic today of Mother's Day, I have a simple question to ask everybody. Why are all the anime moms dead?
I don't know.
It's very sad. It's a bona fide trope that we find in anime, and I am curious why it exists.
I mean, in addition to, I think we were discussing at some point that they all got that lovely little side ponytail going on as well. So I think it's just they're asking for it. They do their hair the wrong way. And therefore they're asking for disease or to be eaten by titans. Obviously, they need better style.
I mean, if you think about it, I guess none of us have really been to Japan to test, but I want to go to Japan and, like, see, I should go teach in Japan, and then when I have my parent-teacher conferences, I will gauge if any of the moms that come in have side ponytails.
Of course not, they're all dead already.
Oh, God. So, to mention a couple of side ponytail moms that, yes, have met some pretty sad fates, there's always Trisha Elric from Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. John, you pointed out to me that Aaron's mom in Attack on Titan
Eren Yeager's mother had a side ponytail.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez. Jeez.
Jin-chan from Anohana.
Yeah, Jintan's mom. Sad days, man. So just note to moms, please don't wear your hair in side ponytails. Let's not get the fates after you to give you a very, very tragic death. Alongside of like moms specifically being dead, there's also just even a trend of like missing parents, because sometimes they don't die tragically, but it's just like a mom is absent. Then you hear maybe in passing, oh yeah, since mom died or something. For example, I think that's like one of the things in Tamako Market that was honestly a very heartfelt piece of that show, was just that her mom had passed away, but you could just kind of very subtly see the influences that had on Tamako as a person. So yeah, I guess I wonder what the purpose in that trope is, if anybody has any idea.
Well, morbidity aside, I do believe that, like you said, that absence of a parent, whether it be a mother, a father, or both, whether they're just overseas so that, you know, they can get it on with their harem friends, or or to give them an actual purpose. And I think that in a lot of cases when it's played up that the parents, specifically the mother, is missing, it's that they're missing that guidepost in their life to really make them be nurtured in a way that they can understand what is right and what is wrong. Or also sometimes, for example, in Fullmetal Alchemist's sake, to be a motivation to make a bad choice and to learn from it. And I think that's why they like to kind of throw mothers, unfortunately, under the bus, both figuratively and sometimes purposely, literally. I do know that they sometimes even use it as a scare tactic to really push a character to grow. I know that happened in canon, for example. Who also had a side ponytail but is alive. Bam!
Oh, God.
Speaking of canon, there was Tomoya's mother was also dead before the series, and that was brought up as what caused the tension between him and his father.
Oh, you mean Clannad, not canon.
In Clannad, yes. Whoops. But yeah, in Clannad, Tomoya's mother was also passed away, which led to tension between him and his father. And then when events unfold, and then Tomoya realized that he was acting exactly the same way as his father, and that led to him growing as a person as well.
That actually brings up a good point, I think, too, where sometimes the missing element of the mother then also helps add kind of a line of conflict or development between a lot of characters and their fathers as well. Which I won't dive too far into, but like that's also one of the big points of Sweetness and Lightning. It's that there was this unifying quality that the mother had in that show with her cooking, and once she was gone, that really sparked the father to get closer to his daughter through the form of cooking or something like that. Or, you know, in Evangelion, that led to, God, why is Gendo just so awful? You know, and you're like, God, will someone just please give poor Shinji a mother figure?
They did some strange things with mothers in general in Evangelion. That's a whole podcast topic.
That is a whole side topic indeed. But I definitely think that that's a good point, Cassie. I think that you bring up the fact that it is a way to add depth to a story, and almost specifically like character development is some purpose that I think a missing mother has.
Yeah, and it makes them make their own decisions that their mommy can't make for them.
Ooh, geez, yeah. God, maybe everyone else in the West needs to stop being coddled then we'll actually learn how to be true adults.
Okay, Mom, it's time to start wearing side ponytails.
No!
All jokes aside, please don't touch my mother. I love her so much.
Please, no. And speaking of more moms that are alive, we do want to highlight some moms that are alive in anime. We basically want to take this section to just talk about some notable moms or mother figures that we've come across in some series. And as per tradition on this podcast, we'll be going in round robin. We each have 2 picks, and I will start us off with my first pick, which is a non-traditional mother, or I guess I would say, and that's Haruko from the anime Air. And Haruko is non-traditional in the fact that she is the aunt of our main character, Misuzu, but she is left up watching Misuzu on her own because no one else will really care for her due to some difficult situations that she has gone with, a lot of your standard key unnamed disease sort of thing. And Haruko really starts out as a little bit rough around the edges, maybe too lackadaisical. It's really like, are you sure you're a mother? Do you really, really care for Misuzu? But you really see through time that yes, she does, and she's able to adjust herself and sacrifice certain things so that she can be there for Misuzu. And we also see how worth it is in the end. There's a very standout scene in Air that to me really strikes the power of motherhood, and it's been one of my favorite things since I watched the show all the way back in like 2006. So that kind of marks the imprint of why I appreciate her and the portrayal of motherhood in Air as a whole. All right, Craigus, I believe you are next.
My first up is Naruto's mother, Kushina Uzumaki. As Kami mentioned, there are those that are mothers that are dead, and there are some that are alive. Kushina falls into the prior versus the latter. Obviously, short and sweet of it, she died when Naruto was an infant. She was the original host of the Nine-Tailed Fox. So there is a bit of a living legacy sort of thing, in the sense that she passed on this great beast and tries to like essentially make it so Naruto will have obviously kind of like a hard life, but through like his trials and tribulations will actually come to understand people, try to resolve issues, and like get to know Kurama and actually not tame him, but be friends with him, be like partners. Nice. Rather than subjugating him, because that's what Kushina wanted to do as the original I'm gonna butcher that.
Junichi?
Jinchuriki.
Okay.
That was it.
I'm actually curious, because I haven't actually seen that far into Naruto. So was she able to have that relationship with the Nine-Tailed Fox, or is it something that she was unable to do that she wanted Naruto to be able to carry, like kind of pass the torch?
It's more the latter, where she wanted
Nice.
Naruto to kind of pass on the torch.
That's cool.
Yeah, unfortunately, it would have been interesting to see what her parenting style would have been like if she was around. And interestingly enough, you can kind of see that in one of the movies, the Road to Ninja movie. It's pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch that and watch those 2 episodes about Kushina's backstory, because
sure.
I have heard from both you and Cassie that it is an emotional roller coaster ride, and I love emotional roller coaster rides.
It really hammers home what kind of things you need to sacrifice to become a parent, and that's one of the things that I don't know if Craig highlighted perfectly, but that she really did not just want to pass on a torch, but also give them the opportunity to live, period.
I see.
Which is something that only really a mother, I mean, I wouldn't say only a mother, but a close family member, for example, a father or a sister, you're not always going to jump in front of a bullet for just anyone.
And I also can't speak for, again, because I haven't seen the show, but from what I've heard, didn't she also kind of pass her dream on to Naruto? Because didn't she want to be the first female Hokage? Was like her dream?
I believe so, before she met Minato, and then she supported him, sort of thing.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Hey, man.
That's cute that both his parents wanted to be the Hokage.
She could just be the first lady. She's fine.
All right, then. What about you, Madame? Or actually not Madame yet. It is John, Monsieur John Sturt.
Is he a Madame?
Everyone's slowly trying to turn John into a girl, and I kind of love it.
Sorry. Anyway, yeah. My first my first pick for mother in anime that I just really like is Inko Midoriya from My Hero Academia. And one of the main reasons why I really like her is because while she was super supportive of Deku's dream to become a hero, but when they discovered that he was quirkless, she said something that was really hurtful towards Deku, and she really didn't mean it in that way. And when she realized how hurtful it was to him, she tried to do her best to make up for it.
Nice.
And later outright apologized for it. And I thought, good for you to actually realize, no, you meant well, but you still ended up hurting him by saying what she did. And then afterwards, she became, once again, super supportive of his dreams. And like, if Deku's biggest fan is his mother, and
Aww.
that's how it should be, really.
That
But-
is honestly really nice to see that they would have a mom with flaws and really admit to that, because I do feel sometimes that they'll stereotype a lot of background moms as being like rather perfect. So that's really cool to hear about an example where the mom is just as human as the son or the main character. I'll have to check that out.
And
Yeah.
even her flaw is less her purposely trying to do something wrong, and just that she's a mother and she doesn't know what to do.
No.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
was
very real.
Yeah, that was pretty rad. I agree.
Yeah. I also love the fact that when she sees Deku on the TV, she's caught between, I really want to encourage him to do well, but also, don't hurt yourself out there.
Don't hurt my baby.
Mm-hmm.
That is really cute.
Yeah,
I also like that too with a lot of anime moms where they kind of do, and I think it happens a lot more in like shonen or like maybe more boys series, but I love when the mom is conflicted of like, I want to support you, but I'm also really worried about you. I think another mom kind of like that would maybe be like Ash's mom from Pokemon, for a very like basic example.
Yeah.
Or Mito from Hunter x Hunter, who I have no idea why I
Yes!
didn't put on this list.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, then. Finally, Madame Cassie, you are, up.
Are you sure?
Yes. I
Are you
promise.
positive?
Are you sure you're not a Miss Stewart?
Positive as a proton. Yeah, so my first pick here, get short, sweet, and to the point. Sanae Furukawa from Clannad. She was Nagisa's mother, who Nagisa was the main lead, or one of the main leads in Clannad, and it's old enough now that I feel like I can say that Nagisa, for one, she was a good mother to Nagisa. As she was growing up, Nagisa wasn't necessarily a hard child, but she was sick with, again, key undescribed illness, that for some reason all key characters have to get at least once in a series.
Kind of messed up.
It kind of is, but it adds that drama, and really at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what that illness is. It's just she's physically weak, and as a parent, she always encouraged Nagisa to do what she wanted to do. There's actually even a character arc for Nagisa where she finds out that because she was born, she may or may not have hindered her own parents' dreams. And her father, more so than her mother, but I'm pretty sure she felt the same way, runs in and says, hey, no, you are our child and we want you to be happy. You're our new dream now, which was really impactful to me. But on top of that, she also becomes a kind of stand-in mother for Ushio when Nagisa passes away. And that is one of the very few moments of weakness we actually get to see from Sanae, is when Tomoya isn't able to step up as a father because of his depression, this family who just lost a daughter has to step in and do it for him. And there is this moment where you see Sanae crying out on, Akio's shoulder, and you really start to understand that she did her best, and she lost a daughter and then has to take care of a new one. And I just think that makes her just such a really cool mom.
Absolutely. I definitely think as well, carrying the torch along with like grandchildren again, that's another really cool quality of motherhood to be shown. That's awesome. Alrighty, we've made it around round 1, and I will lead us into round 2. And my second pick is Sachiko Fujinuma from the anime Erased. And so I was trying to think about what to express with her, and something I realized that's kind of funny in the show is that when you first meet her, really the first like thing that you learn is, oh, she's dead. Okay. So she dies first off, but then miraculously, due to plot conveniences of the anime, for the rest of it, you get to backtrack and see how influential she is just through the rest of the show. Like, that death element I don't think really plays into it, because the times that we see her, and I think she is the strongest character, is back when Satoru was growing up. And I think her abilities as a parent, they start very subtle, and then it just gets stronger and stronger throughout the show. And maybe that also has to do with the fact that parenting is a huge element in this show. I think that not only in the way that she cares for Satoru, and it's very subtle things. It's making him meals every single day. It's saying hi to him when he comes back from school, and it's supporting the friendships that he has and these zany dreams that he might have of being a superhero or something. They show you all those little moments, and I really, really love that. And then later it really, really comes at full force when you see how she basically interacts with a child who's not her own. So she is really good at keeping limits, but how she's able to care for Kaio and show her just another the way that parenting should be, I think. It's just very, very incredible. She at multiple times in the show was a character, maybe the only one outside of a certain film that will be addressed later, where I've just said, damn, she is an amazing mother, like mother of the year. Oh my goodness. And I do think that, to be fair, you really have to watch the show to appreciate her. But I would also argue that for people that have seen the show, they'd also agree that she is a phenomenal mother.
She is.
Oh, totally.
For sure.
If you think about it, speaking of moms with flaws, I mean, technically this, because it's a serial murder story, really, when you get down to it. One of the reasons why that serial murder continued to go on a rampage is because she took a step back and didn't want to be involved anymore to basically protect her son, who was technically mildly involved.
There was also the fact that when she realized who the killer actually was, she felt bad that she never that she didn't trust Satoru when he was younger. When he said, no, the person being accused isn't the one who did it, he wouldn't do it. She felt like, no, she should have believed in him back then. Another thing about Erase is I love seeing Satoru's point of view, and like him like retroactively thinking, oh wait, I used to think that she was a witch because of this thing, but no, I actually see how it is her caring for me.
I think one of the most powerful scenes, like in that regard, is just in episode 2, after he's just witnessed his mother being murdered, and then he in the past opens the door and his mom's like, where have you been? And you just like, it's so subtle, but he just starts crying a little bit, like just seeing his mom alive, and I was like, that's powerful. Just thinking about some people that have, as they get older, lose their mom, and it's like just the impact of being able to see them again. I think that's very, very powerful.
Definitely.
So yeah. All right, Craig, you are up next again.
Speaking of powerful mothers, Hinata is a mother of Burrito and Himawari. Obviously, she is. It's not really seen throughout the show, but Hinata really kind of admired Naruto from the distance. She always aspired to be as strong as him to try and support him in all that Naruto does. As a shonen show, Naruto doesn't really... And Kishimoto admitted to this. He's not the best at expressing romance through his characters. Mm-hmm. So, really, we get to see the effects of the romance, how she supports Naruto in the last Naruto movie and the Boruto movie, where you can see her being a dutiful wife, essentially being a mother, making sure that she supports Naruto, and the fact that he did, spoilers, become Hokage. He became the 7th, and he's gone all the time, but she realizes that's his first and foremost job, because it's... And that... I'll just say for the sake of it, but like Naruto is much like a doctor, is married to the job, so she has to understand that the duties of the Hokage come before her, so she understands that. She's patient, but she also has to like sit Boruto down and be like, listen, I understand why you're upset, I'm upset too, but at the same time, he comes first. Also, when before they got married, she actually did defend Naruto, and they supported each other in battle and whatnot. I mean, obviously, as shonen goes, before they got married, Naruto was oblivious as fuck, so there's that. But I know everyone and their mother was like, yay, the OTP happened, Naruto x Hinata versus Naruto x Sakura, and I was in the latter camp rather than the prior camp.
Hinata also just, to me, poses as a mom that can be gentle and patient and will defend, but if you lay a hand on her kids or someone she loves, she will throw down.
Yeah,
like,
for
that's
sure.
That's pretty cool.
For sure.
Yeah, and she still makes dinners for her family and still supports her family in every way that a mother would. And I think that's one of the reasons why Boruto is so angry with his father, is because he has such a good mother.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't like to watch her being taken advantage of. In his eyes.
Well said.
And and it's essentially Boruto feels as though Naruto's essentially taking for granted all that he has, and is like, stupid old man, you missed out on my sister's birthday. They baked a pretty cake, and you're bothering to just use shadow clones and stay in the office the entire time. Put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
I really should watch the Boruto movie, and because Hinata was
very good,
very quickly one of my favorite characters in Naruto. Actually, my favorite character in the series, like very quickly.
Same.
And I was in the Naruto Hinata camp, like since day one, practically. So.
Hashtag same.
Yep, all the same. All right, then, John, let's lead into another mother that you do know well and appreciate.
Okay, my second mother that I'm going to talk about is Hannah from Wolf Children. And
yes,
where to begin with her, really?
Why is she a good mom?
That's a great question now, isn't it?
It's just, there's so many things she does, all for her children. Like, she had a comfortable life in the sea, but she was worried about her children's safety, so she moved out to the middle of nowhere to start from the beginning, so that they would have plenty of space to run around and be themselves without risk of being seen and then being attacked while changing into their wolf forms if they did. And then when she realized all the struggles that was going to come with that, she took it on the chin and she just got stuck in. And she was raising these two very unusual kids. So she had nobody she could turn to for advice for this regard, and she was raising them on her own. And Mother of the Year without a doubt. And
Mother of the Year of several years ago.
Several years ago, but yeah, still.
Still standing.
I know that Cassie and I did this, and I feel like this might just be something kind of across the board with anime fans, is whether you've actually shown it to them or not. Like, when I watched Wolf Children, afterwards I was like, I have to watch this movie with my mom. Like, I have to. Or I have to, or I wish I could show this to them, because it's just, the mark of motherhood. Like,
I need to find an English dub of this and show it to my mother, because I do think she'll appreciate it.
It just makes you think about and appreciate motherhood. I also think that one of the things you started to touch on is the fact that she wanted to give her kids choice more than anything else. She wanted them to be free to live their lives than ever, thinking of what could be more convenient for her. Like you said, she just took it on the nose and she sacrificed whatever needed to be sacrificed so her kids could live happily.
As a
huge.
wolf or as a human.
And she also had, like, super mom moments where, like, Ame was the girl, wasn't it? I can't remember which way around it was. Ame and Yuki.
Yuki was the girl, Ame was the boy.
Ame was the boy, Yuki was the girl. That was it, yeah. Where Yuki, who was always getting up to all sorts of mischief, and she was climbing up the chest of drawers when they suddenly started.
Oh my god! Super mom moment.
And she's ironing, and she's got Ame in her lap. And not only does she put the iron down safely in a way that it's not going to fall on Ame and is still looking after Ame, she catches Yuki and catches the chest of drawers in a way that nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, that
with
was
like an instant
really
reaction. And it's just like, you go.
Straight up skill.
Yeah, I don't know. It is hard to encapsulate all of the ways that Hana is a wonderful mom. I think she also just really marks the quality of a mom of, like, I mean, having kids in general is a huge commitment, but just being saddled with a lot more than you ever could have expected and just going all out with it. Just for, in an example, like, I think of moms that end up giving birth to kids that have autism. And you just adjust. You do what you can to make sure your kid is happy. And that takes a whole lot of strength. And I think that Hana is a good example of that.
Funny you mention that. My sister actually has 2 kids confirmed diagnosed with autism. And
my sister-in-law, too. That's why I thought about it.
And her youngest, who is way too young to be diagnosed, very likely to also be diagnosed with autism when he's older. And yeah, she had no idea about the struggles of this until she was faced with them. And yeah, you just do what you do. There's a lot of power in motherhood, and I think that Hana is a phenomenal example of that.
Sure.
All right, your turn again, madame.
Okay, and I guess in the interest of time, and also because this is going to be the most segue of segues, I'm going to try and keep this just a little short, but I'm going to be talking about Kobayashi from Kobayashi no Maid Dragon. And to be fair, before I get flamed, she is not technically a mother. She did not give birth to any of the people in this particular anime, though very similar to Haruko in Air, she's a very unconventional mother in that she suddenly has not only one dragon, Toru, who she has to kind of teach how to act in human society, and kind of raises her in her own way in the beginning, but also later becomes the caretaker of a smaller dragon, one that essentially in our years would be in early elementary school. And she comes to terms with a lot of things that you have to come to terms with when you take care of a child. You have to go and get them their stuff for school. You got to go to their, festivals and their, these things that make their kids happy. And at the same time, she had to really show Kana that she is someone who, I guess, can be loved and trusted, because it's only touched on very briefly, but Kana's parents essentially abandoned her as is. They thought she was just a troublemaker, and a lot of reasons why Kana was a troublemaker is because she wanted that love from a parent. And even though it's not something story-wise that's hammered home over and over again, there is one episode in particular where she does want attention, and she wants it badly. And when she doesn't think she's going to get her way, it does make her sad. But it all pays off in the end, because Kobayashi, again, sees what's going on and is able to make adjustments, not only in her work life, but also in her own mentality of, maybe sometimes work isn't the most important thing. And in that way, Kana and Kobayashi learned a lot from each other, in a way that most mothers and children learn from each other as well.
Very well said.
Speaking of which, guess what we're talking about today?
Yeah, the perfect segue into our review for this episode. It's exciting for me to get back to reviews. I haven't done one in a while, and this episode we'll be talking about Kobayashi-san Chi no Maid Dragon, or Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. So let me drop you all with the synopsis right here. As Kobayashi sets off for another day at work, she opens her apartment door only to be met by an unusually frightening sight: the head of a dragon staring at her from across the balcony. The dragon immediately transforms into a cute, busty, D for dragon, and energetic young girl dressed in a maid outfit, introducing herself as Toru. It turns out that the stoic programmer has come across the dragon, who the previous night, on a drunken excursion to the mountains, she invited to stay in her home. Thus, Toru has arrived to cash in on the offer, ready to repay her savior's kindness by working as her maid. Though deeply regretful of her words and hesitant to follow through on that promise, a mix of guilt and Toru's incredible dragon abilities convinces Kobayashi to take her in. Despite being extremely efficient at her job, the maid's unorthodox methods of housekeeping often end up horrifying Kobayashi, and at times being more trouble than help. And to add to the mix, the circumstances behind the dragon's arrival on Earth seem to be much more complicated than at first glance, as Toru bears some heavy emotions and painful memories. And even more topping it off, Toru's presence ends up attracting several other mythical beings to her new home, bringing a host of eccentric personalities. Although Kobayashi makes her best effort to handle the crazy situation that she has found herself in, nothing has prepared her for this new life with a dragon maid. Oh man, what a journey we are going on.
Oh, I'm excited.
This show is animated by Kyoto Animation, or KyoAni. You definitely know who they are. We talk about them all the time. 3 of their big hits were Clannad, The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, and K-On! And let me just say that, do you guys think unanimously we could all say that this was our favorite anime from the winter season?
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yep.
Yeah, undisputedly.
Yeah, the only thing that even came close was kind of, what was it? March Comes in Like a Lion, but it was a 2-course, so I'm not even going to say it counted. I'm just going to be like, yes, this is my favorite. This is what I look forward to every week.
Yes, so we will dive in and try to explain to you why we made that choice. So we can start off. We already explained what the story is. Maybe... I don't know. I kind of want to discuss maybe like how such a zany topic, like how they made it work well, I guess. Like when I really heard the subject of the show, I was expecting just like really nothing but like balls to the walls comedy, I think, in this show. And that's not what I got. I think we got a relatively, like, while it was small, very tight narrative, and there were also just airs of sentimentality that I did not expect, and it made me really appreciate the show. What about you guys?
I agree. At first I saw the PV and I was like, oh, that seems like it's a comedy just waiting to happen. You know, you get like the straight man, and then you get the comedy, you get the foil of the comedy, which is the dragon maid using the magic and the fire to blow up stuff in the apartment. But albeit, like, as soon as they introduced Kana, then that's when stuff actually started popping off as like, oh man, they're like they're like a family essentially, and that's what Cass kind of touched up upon in this topic beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
And then what else maybe with this
Well,
story?
One thing I wanted to point out that I loved about, I guess what you could call the quote-unquote story, because let's be honest, this was a very episodic show. There wasn't really an underlying narrative, but like Cammie said, that's what made this so interesting, because it seemed like it was a tight-knit one, even though there was no really beginning, middle, and end. There was some conflict, especially towards the end of the show. But the fact that they randomly threw that in, or I wouldn't even say randomly, the fact that they threw that in, something that was a little bit of a harder topic to jump on, which I'm pretty sure we'll all discuss in spoilers, the fact that they were able to sew that in and it didn't feel forced was really, really great.
Very good point.
And the few moments of sentimentality where typically it would be a conversation between Toru and Kobayashi, but it would just be a discussion, and that's what's great, is that these characters talk to each other. And even though there was a lot of zany comedy, most of the comedy I felt wasn't like laugh out loud slapstick. It was, oh, that was clever, or, oh, that was really silly. Like, why would you do that? It wasn't anything where I was, like, rolling around, which is probably good because most of this I watched at work.
Yeah, that would have been a little odd seeing you in the break room just kind of, like, on the floor.
Yeah, just, like, laughing my ass. Like, it was comedy that made me feel good. It was a story that made me feel good, but nothing that was over the top, even though some of the things the characters were doing were a little over the top.
Yes. I think that it was very clever comedy. And actually I forgot to drop this earlier, but I think that also is due to the writer of the original manga that this is based off of. It's the same author who does I Can't Understand What My Husband Is Saying.
Yeah.
Of course.
And, yeah. I think that a lot of the charm that I found, again, unexpectedly, in I Can't Understand What My Husband Is Saying, it was very much familiar. It crept up on me, and I really, really loved it in this show. I think that author just has a very quirky, but also can be grounded into reality sense of writing. I really, really like their material, and I think this just kind of like Husband was pretty knockout. So, yeah. Now, though, I suppose we can dive into the characters, because there's a lot to be addressed here.
Totally.
Kana is my best friend. Just gonna lay that right now.
Hey man, I can't fault you for that. Kana was great, and I think that's one of the things that's wonderful about this show is that there's just so many great characters, and even the ones that aren't necessarily focused on a ton, like for example, Fafnir is one of them.
Oh my gosh.
His interactions with his, I'm going to call him his respective human comrade. All of their interactions were great. And every time any of these dragons, for the most part, because I feel like every dragon was assigned to a human.
Yes.
Sure.
That is how it ended up playing out.
Yeah. And most of them, I loved their interactions. One of those pairs I was not particularly fond of, but we can talk about that later. But for the most part, I feel like all of these characters interacted with each other and were very good foils to each other in a way that helped each of them grow as people. Even if it was a very one-off, nod to the side kind of deal. Which is really weird to say that there was character development in a comedy show, but I think that's one of the great things about this.
Yeah, it was. That's what was so cool, and again, I think it shines through the character's through the author's writing, is just being able to characterize people in small moments and just like glimpses, rather than having to have like a huge narrative event happen. And I loved that in this show. And also, again, to touch on what you mentioned about everyone being kind of, they found their respected human, that didn't feel forced to me. It just kind of fell into place.
Naturally.
Yeah. It was neat. Yeah.
What with Fafnir essentially being friends with Kobayashi's coworker at work. He's just like, oh, I'm playing Dark Souls. You want to play? And then Fafnir essentially dives headfirst into Dark Souls and MMORPGs, and he goes ham on these MMOs.
Speaking of Fafnir playing Dark Souls, there's the gag in that he keeps on falling for the mimic chess, and it's something that Fafnir admits he can't help, and that's because dragons have in their they hoard their gold, so he can't help but try and loot every treasure chest he comes across for treasure, even if he knows it's actually a trap. Also,
that was another go ahead.
So yeah, I really like that moment, and
The
also
accuracy.
Also on the subject of Fafnir and his human, I really am kicking myself that I can't remember the guy's name at the moment, but that
I'll look it up.
He's his coworker, best friend.
that
He has a name. Let me look it up.
I know.
that moment where, like, because up until he met him and they really kind of bonded over games, he had all humans are trash and should be killed and destroyed.
Eradicated. Yeah.
And he meets this one guy and they bond, and he just has this little monologue bit, and then he says, "You pass." The guy has no clue what, but I was just like, ah.
My feels, yes, were through the floor.
And to be fair, like, that's how a lot of the dragons felt.
Absolutely.
Toru did as well. She's like, other than you, Miss Kobayashi, all of them are trash. And then by the end, that's obviously not true. And especially for Kana as well. Kana was very distrusting of even Kobayashi at first.
Yep.
That went away very quickly, but then she, originally it seems like Kana just wanted Toru, for example, to come home to the Dragon Realm, but then she got interested in all of these things that not just, a human would, but a young anything would. A young creature is interested in life and how other peers do things and how they operate, and then she decides to go to a human school. That was a decision she made on her own.
Makes friends and whatnot with Saikawa.
Yes. I guess then in that regard, we could probably bring up some of the more minor characters. Saikawa is definitely one of them. Kana's friend that she makes at school. There is Elma, who gets introduced, and we can bring up Lukoa and Shota briefly just to explain things.
Kotsukola.
Can I mention one thing, though? Like, the Elma, it's so tragic. Like, for all of the character, like, bulk there is in the show and building out characters for who they are and how silly and wacky they are and how they grow as people from different places, Elma was so shafted.
But, like, the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, she came in so late into the series, and she was really charming, and I really wished I could see more of her in the series, and unfortunately...
She just became a side gag. It was so depressing.
Absolutely. Yeah. What actually, though, I guess we should backtrack, because we didn't talk too much about Toru's character, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Kobayashi. Yeah.
For once, we have a show where the main characters are just as fun and quirky and amazing as the side characters.
Very true. You don't get that too often, but
I know we were not very happy about that in Fuka last week, and with this particular show, the main characters shine because they just play off each other so well. It's so good.
Yeah, for sure.
They play off of each other very well. While there are occasional gags, too, I like that, to a degree, their relationship is just treated as something that's there. It's normal, it's domestic. It's not always, like, sexualized. There are a couple gags, like, earlier in the show, but it just becomes so... it's just there, and it's just a part of the routine, and it's very beautiful, and I like the way that they portrayed that. And I think you could perceive it as you like. There are moments where it's expressed as platonic and then purely romantic. I like thinking of it as romantic, but you're left up to interpretation.
It is left up to interpretation, but there's one thing you can't argue, and that is that Toru is unabashedly in love with Kobayashi. Yeah. Whether she returns those feelings or not is completely left up for you as the viewer to insinuate yourself, which is kind of interesting.
Absolutely.
But we do see that, especially towards the end of the series, that we do realize that Kobayashi does need Toru there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And appreciates her.
Romantic or otherwise, she needs her in her life.
Yeah, absolutely. Personally, I am all for the moms and their dragon baby idea, but that's just
Oh, it's not just you, my friend.
No.
It is not just
so
also
precious.
on the subject of Kobayashi herself, one other thing that helps this series stand out from other series out there is that she's not a high school student. She is a
Working woman.
She is a working woman, and working as a computer programmer or software developer. At that,
Somebody I've heard mention of people speculating. I believe it was I think it was Digibro who mentioned that she's very logical and like calculating in a way that's really nice. She approaches a lot of situations not necessarily as how can I get out of this or how can I get it to benefit me, but how can I just make things work? Like for example, when she's like, we don't have enough room in this apartment, so we just have to get a new apartment.
Yeah.
Like, that's impressive. A lot of anime characters spend a lot of time like agonizing over those things, and she's just like, I need this to happen, let's have it happen. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty dang cool.
Yeah.
Even when she was first, reconfronted, I suppose, with Toru in the first episode, when we first get introduced to Toru and she explains the situation. At first, she was thinking of, oh, okay, this is a horrible situation that I found myself in. How do I get out? How do I get out? But she did start to think, wait, no, if I just kick her out now, that makes me a horrible person. How can I make this work? And then she starts thinking, even when she first is thinking, how do I get out, she was thinking things more logically, not so opposed to the idea of having Toru around completely. Just, I can't afford a maid, I'm busy enough as it is, and then she ends up effectively...
She's also got to afford another mouth to feed too.
Yeah.
But she ends up deciding, no way, it won't be such a bad thing after all. And,
Well, you also have to remember it wasn't just, oh, this isn't such a bad thing. It was, oh crap, I need to get to work.
Yeah, and she started seeing the advantages of...
yeah, exactly. So she didn't even have time to think about it like long enough to be like, oh, this will make me... I mean, she does very briefly touch on, oh no, I feel bad. But then she's able to logically, as you put it, jump to the conclusion of, oh crap, if she's around, I can get to work right now. And that's where I need to be. Let's go.
And I mean, with her nature, she's such a great foil to Toru, and they work so well off of each other because Toru's just kind of bright, bubbly, and maybe thinks in a more fantastical way for the most part. They just complement what each other lacks, and that's always really great for character interactions. I adore that sort of thing.
It's interesting.
And they learn from each other.
It's interesting because, like, I have a friend has a girlfriend that's like that too, where he's kind of like whimsical and he's like kind of like has his head in the clouds, not like in a bad way, but his girlfriend kind of keeps him grounded and in the present moment, essentially, which is much like Kobayashi and Toru.
And that's, I mean, opposites attract. I mean, it's been proven time and time again, not just in our world, but also reflected in literature. And I don't think that is a coincidence. And not just in a romantic way either. People are drawn to people who are similar to them, but also are enthusiastic by things that are different. And if anything, that's one of the life lessons that is taught in this show. And that's one of the things that's great also about the characters in the show is their willingness to learn. And whether they were there for 5 seconds or 5 minutes every episode, I would argue that most of these characters learn something about themselves or from each other by the end of the show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's also what made just going through the entire show such a reward, I think. Because each episode you go in, you're like, okay, this character now then reflects what they learned or what they benefited from the last episode. And again, like, I really appreciated Kana, like, from the get-go, but seeing her personal growth as, you just watch a child grow was really, really rewarding and really sweet. And I appreciated that a lot. She's just super cute because she comes on the scene and I totally anticipated a very stereotyped character with her and it was quickly just thrown out the window. And she's she's very unique and very, very sweet, and I love her.
and all the characters, with the exception of maybe one or two, but even the ones that were shafted, for example, Elma's appearance, I mean, not to go too much into it, maybe we can discuss it in spoilers, but she had to, just like the rest of them, adjust to human life, and in a way that the others didn't, because she, decided to actually work. Which is something where Toru decided to become a maid. She's not technically working in society. She's working at home. She still has to learn to, talk to people, buy stuff. And in a way, there is that way that she grows and learns. But Elma had it completely different. And so did Kana. The only one that I'm kind of confused about is Lukoa. I don't know how she grew at all. I don't know.
Oh, well, yes. I can say how she grew. But...
I mean, did her bust size get a little bigger every episode?
No, I can save it for the spoiler section because it's in the last episode.
Okay. Well, and also, we're blurting home all of these sentimental things and how each character grew, but there is so much zany, fun things about these characters, too. This is a comedy anime through and through, and while their characters are great, the silly situations they put themselves in are fantastic as well. Not to downgrade what most of this show is, which is a comedy.
What do you use a seesaw for?
Best joke. Oh my god.
I love that moment.
Santa Claus moment with Kana.
Oh yeah.
That was hilarious.
Oh my god.
Gotta emphasize that you gotta really bring home the fact that he has to go to that house.
We've talked about characters and story so much, we haven't even got to talk about production yet either.
Well, let's take a start. I think that this show was beautiful.
I agree. That was easy.
Show is clean, albeit music was appropriate for the mood. I can't, obviously the transitional music in between, with the title cards is what stands out to me the most when it comes to music.
I do remember that.
Well, that sound effect, because the show is structured in such a way that, it has a through line, but also it will do interstitials with the other characters having, a run-on gag. But when they do when she's, the chibi form and blows the fire at the logo, that music.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, that music is what I got in my head.
That's a good point. Yep. The opening and ending songs I loved a lot.
They're trippy.
I loved them.
The animations are so trippy.
Choo-choo, yeah!
They grew on me so much. Just speaking of the visuals, like Craig said, they're super trippy. When I watched the first episode and I watched that opening, I was like, what the hell am I in for? I don't know. Then each episode, I just got more into it, and I was like, fuck yeah, the craziness, let's go. Let's do some Maid Dragon.
Kiss me.
It's also notable that this is animated by KyoAni, so you're going in thinking it's going to be pretty because of who made it, and you won't be disappointed. Especially because there are moments where, example, characters fight, or there's magic spells going on. And their production budget just goes through the roof suddenly. It wasn't bad to begin with.
It ends up looking like a one of the high budget fights from Dragon Ball Z, or from a Dragon Ball Z movie at that, and it's just really awesome to watch, and doesn't look out of place either. It still sticks true to the art style, and it's awesome. And then it goes back to normal, and
it's still polished and shiny.
Yes. Speaking of polish, I was just going to say, if I had to consider certain things, in the way that the character design is, when I first saw this show, it actually reminded me, it felt a little reminiscent of Lucky Star. Most specifically, I think if you look at Kobayashi's character, she looks very much like some of the characters in Lucky Star.
Yeah.
So it's a little more simplified, but then they also had a really cool element of getting some nice sketchiness in there and some more fine lines that then reminded me of Nichijou. Almost.
Yeah.
And then it had its own, pretty glossiness to it. So it just felt like this perfect mash of KyoAni's artistic progress, just as a whole. And I really, really liked that.
Yeah, for sure.
The colors were also beautiful.
And I think part of that comes from the art style of the author, because it's very similar to the art style used in I Can't Understand What My Husband's Saying.
Yeah, the character designs it.
True.
Definitely.
And yeah, when I was watching it, I kept on thinking, this is reminding me of something. And people saying, Lucky Star, I was like, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. When someone mentioned it was the same author as, I can't understand what my husband is saying. It's like, that's it. That's where I'm getting it from.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, I think also the thing that Cammie's pointing out is in a lot of ways KyoAni went back to their roots because while the art style is kind of similar to I can't understand what my husband is saying. It's not identical.
No, it's not.
And that's because they're done by two different studios, and where KyoAni chose to go with it is to really go back to their roots with Lucky Star and add to it, which is something that I didn't catch, but was really appreciative of Cammie when she pointed it out to me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it especially it was just, don't you think? And I think Cassie, you even mentioned this. It was just such a funny jump to go from watching Hibike Euphonium season 2 and then seeing the animation in Maid Dragon and like how contrasted they were, but how perfect a fit that was for the show. Because like if you animated Maid Dragon in like Hibike's style, it just wouldn't fit. So yeah,
it won't fit. She said.
Oh, ha 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 ha. But yeah, I think we could overall just agree that production-wise, this was beautiful. Like, did any of you ever think it was lacking? Because I really didn't have any moments like that.
There are moments where the art style is quite obviously a lot simpler, but it was in moments where that simpler art style fit the mood. So it's just, it was never...
Rihanna ate a crab.
Rihanna ate a crab.
Yeah, Rihanna ate a crab.
That was really simplistic, but it was needed there. And, like, KyoAni is notorious for knowing how to spread their budget. And over the years, they've gotten more money to throw around anyway. So I never go into a KyoAni production thinking, well, I'm worried.
Good point. Very good point. I think the last thing as far as animation that I wanted to bring up is that character expressions here were also really good. Just a lot of the facial expressions. I am specifically thinking of Saikawa, but all of them had
Saikawa,
very unique expressions.
Looked like she was like dying every time she was next to Kana.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
Pointing that out, I did enjoy Saikawa's, but I think one of the things I loved was watching how Kobayashi's face changed. Especially when she was like especially in the first episode when she opens the door and there is a dragon there with no fucking context. Just the look on her face suddenly goes from unamused with the morning to
yeah. Yeah, they even went all like black and white style for a second. That was so great.
The absolute terror on her face.
Again, too, I don't think that it really had any moments where it, like... No, I mean, there were a couple. Voice acting was awesome. Kobayashi, I really loved her voice acting as well. Especially when she would contrast from, like, being in her daily life to then when she was drunk. That was always a good voice change. That was cool. And then, you know, when characters needed to be expressive, it felt very real. So good on the voice acting as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, especially like you said, with our two female leads, Kobayashi and also Toru, who we see as very genki and very fast talking most of the time. But when you actually get over to her dragon persona, she has these moments where she talks very seriously. And especially towards the end, she had some moments where she had to be emotional, and it was done very, very well.
Yeah, I agree. All right. I'm almost ready to go to rating system, but did anyone want to bring up some critiques beforehand of the show?
I want to let everyone know that if you are triggered by loli or shota baiting, it's in this show, and it is the only complaint I have about this show.
Yep.
And it sucks that it's there. But if that's something that triggers you, I'm not even going to consider that a spoiler because it literally does trigger people. If that triggers you to a point where it's going to cause you issues, don't watch this show. It sucks, but it's there and it's prominent and it happens all the time. But it's only one tiny part and typically small itty bitty skits, but it's there and it's annoying.
It's a run-on gag.
Very good point to bring that up. That's very important because, that can be a very touchy subject for certain people.
For sure.
So thank you for that.
But if
I think that really outside of that, the only other critique I had you already brought up, which is just some of the side characters were a little bit shafted, and that was a bummer.
It sucks.
Yeah. But it was only a bummer because they were able to present these characters as so appealing that you wanted to know more about them.
Yeah, I wanted them to be more. I wanted them to be more than just one tiny little gag, because most of the characters did have run-on gags, but on top, like for example, Toru wanting, Kobayashi to eat her tail. But there was more than that one gag. Yeah. Like there's constant gags throughout the show, and also little moments where something can only happen in that moment. Which were funny and cute and adorable. And then there were some characters that were reduced to, hey, you remember that one joke we made like an episode ago? Here they are in that same situation again. And for the rest of the show. But for the most part, characters weren't treated that way.
Listen, they get development, they get plot.
Plot.
I love that word.
I will say one other thing. One of my friends actually stopped watching this show because she saw the beginning boob jiggle from Toru when she showed up at the door. And I know that that's something that put you off originally as well.
Yeah.
Guys, this show is not that fan servicey. Please.
It's really not. No.
Please give it a chance. Other than the shota baiting that happens occasionally and the lolly baiting that happens occasionally, the fan service in this show is not prominent, and it's not something that they shove in your face. Please don't let that ruin it for you.
I'd also even just say, as a whole, a lot of the tropey things that to me are presented initially, like when I saw the boob jiggle in the trailer, I was like, oh no. But then they just flip it a tiny bit, and make it something a little unique or a little quirky, and it's fun.
They give more context.
I was good with the boobs as soon as we got, D for dragon. And then I was like, oh my gosh, that's cute. I have no more complaints.
Silly.
Yeah. It's just such a fun little show. And are we ready to rate it?
Yeah.
That being said.
Yes.
Okay. Who wants to go first? And if not, I will.
You choose.
Yep.
Craig, go.
Love it.
Love it?
Yep.
Straight up? Yes.
Yep. Keep going on.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Bullet round time.
All
John?
right.
Yes.
Yeah, love it. Just go out, buy it, get it now if you can. Love it.
Support the official release, kids.
That.
Okay. All right, my dear Cassie.
Obviously, I'm burning. Just kidding.
Damn,
I love it as well. I don't believe that this show, just to give a little bit of context of why I'm giving it that score, is because this was the show I looked forward to every week. And and for an anime to do that makes me really happy. And for all the little gripes I had about it, they were tiny, small. There were 2 of them, and I could ignore them. I love this show. I will rewatch it again and again and again. And I want everybody who's listening to at least give it a couple of episodes. I love this show so much.
I really do think that in the case of this show, and I don't know why, if it's the format or not, but 3-episode rule will totally work for this show. It just does. Yeah. It does. And again, as everybody else, this show was just the little show that could. This is the show that I put on my impressions as whatever, I'll give it a shot. Maybe it'll be halfway decent. And it was my favorite thing. It was just it was like having a warm chocolate chip cookie and a cup of milk every night. I loved watching it. Like Cassie said, it was such a treat. And I could not give it anything lower than a love it. It is phenomenal, and I highly recommend that everybody try to check it out.
To quote a beautiful man, a good old man named Olin Rogers, go check out his channel. It's like a bear just came and hugged a sweater on you.
Oh.
I could see that.
Beautiful.
I could see that. All right. Then that means, and it'll probably be relatively short, but we can pop on into the spoiler room.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be spoilered, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode, and we will catch you on the flip side. But for now, we're going to go spoiler room.
All right.
Thanks for
Let's
coming.
go, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for
Peace.
spoilers.
All right. So.
Okay. Spoilers? Anybody? Maybe the ending of the last episode?
Let me start.
Okay.
Lukoa put on a shirt.
Oh.
Her development finally took 12 episodes, but she put the shirt on because she's like, Toru reacted. She's like, oh, you got a shirt. She's like, yeah, people were reacting and saying that I should put on a shirt. So I did it, and I was like,
Could you have done that like
Congratulations.
6 episodes ago? That would have been great.
Wow, great attention to detail, Craig.
Yeah, I
Just
forgot about
saying.
that.
I did too.
saying.
Yeah. Wow.
I-
I could agree. That's
Yeah.
development.
I'm sad too, because Lukoa originally was presented as, I don't know, kind of somebody who would be like, kind of like
The
the,
mommy,
second
the mom.
Kobayashi.
Mm.
Yeah, like a
Like-
mom figure.
And then she just was a fan service character
Mm.
and a Shota shove her boobs in Shota's face character for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
And it
See,
made me
I'm
sad.
See,
Missed
I'm
potential.
like, I like fan service, but man, that run-on gag just was driven into the ground, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you're hitting on a 10-year-old boy, which is kind of gross. Then you're just like, I'm gonna continue to do it and support you in a bathing suit at all times. I'm like, Lucola,
Just chill.
you're a special snowflake.
It was also really conflicting because in the beginning, at least I remember in the first episode, when Toru's like, I need to call somebody, I'm going to talk to Lukoa because she is like wise and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, at the same time, she treats every interaction with Shota with like complete idiocy.
Well,
Yeah.
So
wasn't
that
it?
was kind
wasn't-
of frustrating.
Wasn't historically she was like a goddess or some crap where she was like cursed and turned into a dragon?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I guess I wish I was more versed in. I think that the show is also really fun with its bits of dragon lore for people that are really into that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that is pretty cool. But yeah, it was a bummer with Lukoa, especially like with her design, like her facial design and stuff. I wish they would have done more like creative things with her.
Yeah.
I loved her funky eyes and stuff. Like that was really cool.
Oh, yeah.
And her hair colors.
Yeah.
But
And
you know,
I liked her so much at the beginning, and then I just was annoyed every time she was on screen after, and it sucks.
because you knew it was going to be the same gag
Yeah.
every time. Yeah, absolutely.
However, all the other characters were pretty great, and I did like the, as you were going to lead to the final couple of episodes, or the final episode where Toru does disappear for a brief amount of time, and then her father wants her to come back, and there's this great moment where Kobayashi basically says, you don't get to make decisions for her, you're her parent, but you don't get to decide. She doesn't want to go. And there's that moment where, you know, she is threatened. He literally shoots her glasses off her face, which I was actually really surprised by.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
Like, the fact that they went that far in a very heartwarming show to show, like, this is a very serious situation where somebody could get hurt. And she still, like, stood up for Toru, which is not something I would think she would have done at the beginning of the show.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Also,
Um,
the relationship between Toru and her father was slightly alluded to throughout the series. Like, whenever parents were brought up, Kobayashi would try and turn it around to Toru, and Toru
Toru would climb up.
kind of either be just like, my parents have nothing to talk about, or dodge the subject entirely, or she had a couple of moments where she was like, I'm not on best terms with my father outright, and and then, oh look, Dad's here.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did like the constant kind of retrospect of both Toru and Kobayashi, thinking of both their parents while they were kind of adjusting to this pseudo-parental role for Kana. Like, that was a nice little add-on. And I love that the ending, we don't get to see it as per usual, but I love that the show ends on that Kobayashi is going to introduce Kana and Toru to her.
Oh,
to her
yeah.
family. Like,
Yeah,
so
Yep.
sweet.
Mm-hmm.
it ends
So
on that.
sweet.
I also liked that they touched on a very serious issue about the fact that she's going to outlive Kobayashi.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I didn't know if they were ever going to touch on that, and that became something that was very, very evident in the final episode, even before her father showed up. She started having this, like, lingering thought in the back of her head, and I like how they presented it as if she was talking to herself, like her dragon form was talking to her, and trying to point out this logical argument of, why are you wasting your time when in the end you're just going to be miserable? And her response is, you know, she comes to that conclusion on her own, and it's really cool.
Yeah. It's just such a good show. Actually, I was thinking about it, and pardon if this is backtracking, but what did you guys think of that little nod into Toru's past and like the other human that she had met?
Oh yeah, I love that scene.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Craig, what about you? You've been so quiet.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The episode where Kobayashi and Toru are talking, and she talks about the little girl that she talked to who was like a thief who wanted to become a maid.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. She was served as inspiration. Yeah. That's pretty cute. I liked it.
Yeah.
I also love that
I think I need to...
the little girl did become a maid somewhere. She managed to fulfill...
Yes.
In the dragon realm.
Mm.
Yeah, that was very sweet. I also do like the foil again, that character had an influence on Toru, but she also wasn't exactly like Kobayashi. Like, their relationships are entirely different. And
Rather
I like
back
that.
then, that girl...
Toru didn't give a shit about humans.
That girl was the energetic, flamboyant one, whilst Toru was the quote-unquote straight man of the pair.
The curmudgeon who doesn't give a crap about humans and who thinks highly of herself.
I also liked that the little girl, I don't think she ever got a name, but I liked that she called Toru's bluff when Toru was trying to scare her.
Yeah.
And she really was maybe the first human who really started to change Toru's mind, and it makes you think about like how she may have reacted to Kobayashi if she had never met that little girl prior. It's very interesting to think about.
Mm-hmm.
I also even like the fact that, again, though it was done by means of alcohol, I like that when Toru and Kobayashi first met, Kobayashi was the more boisterous and friendly one, because Toru was in pain and was like, go the fuck away, and Kobayashi's like, I'm drunk, let's hang out.
I'm gonna
you
a hug. A dragon, so cool.
I love that scene. That was one of my favorite scenes. The when it actually in like the one of the last two episodes, I think, last 2 or 3 episodes, where it does flashback to their first meeting, and it's like this is actually how it played out, and Toru ended up getting drunk with her and shooting the shit, and oh crap, what was the name of the drink that they were drinking? I
don't know.
think it might have actually
Doesn't
been called
matter.
Dragon's Blood or something like that. Now, I know Dragon was definitely in the name of the drink, and I did catch it at the time, and now I've just completely forgotten what it was called.
I just realized that I'm a liar. There is a part of this show that made me laugh out loud while I was at work, and it was when Kobayashi was on the train and was like, that was my stop. and then just kept going, and I like lost my shit.
Because that's relatable, man. That's
It
hashtag relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else that I can think of that I need to be addressed? Probably not.
I was gonna say we alluded to the fact that Elma became a gag, and the fact that she loved food, and every time the interstitial skits just showed her like, I'm torn between the melon pan and this other thing. Fuck.
Well, it wasn't even just food. There was one little thing where I was like, which toothpaste do I use? Like, she just became the gag of which thing do I pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was such an interesting
was a
character when she
shame.
was first introduced, and
Because it introduced the concept of the holy dragons, the chaos dragons, and the neutral dragons.
yeah, she was the Toru, and all the other dragons thus far are the chaos dragons, the ones that cause the uproar, and she was the lawful, I guess.
Yeah, lawful or holy, whatever you want to call it, the good, bad.
And it ended up being a situation where Kobayashi ended up pointing out, like, you're here for good reasons, but right now you're actually the one causing the uproar, so chill. And then...
How about maybe you chill?
Yeah.
Hashtag history of Japan.
Yes.
Also, samurai.
When Kobayashi was like, not Kobayashi, when Toru was like, fine, I need to get her out of my hair. I already prepared a dimension for us to go to for us to fight in. Alright, you go first, and just closes the dimension on her. I just
Walls.
love
Yeah.
that bit.
That was great.
Yeah, I just,
But,
again, really wish we saw more of Elma, and beyond just that gag. But, maybe that's something
The only
to
other-
look into the manga for.
Maybe.
That's true.
The only other thing that I'd want to touch on before we sign out for the day is that we didn't get to talk too much about what sentimental things that they brought up specifically. And the one thing that I do want to touch on is they really hammered home this this thing about being different, whether it be in human society or dragon society. Like even when they go to buy Kana shoes for school, she says, oh, you're going to want to pick out ones that are just like everyone else. And that's when she gets to have a conversation with Kobayashi about, well, why does it matter? And that, you know, people in Japan and people in general, just, they don't like things that are foreign and they don't like things that are different. And that is a kind of, I want to say motif maybe, that's sprinkled throughout the series. One of the reasons why, you know, Toru doesn't want to introduce Kobayashi to her parents is because she doesn't think they would understand. And that is something that a lot of people in our generation need to think about is are people who are different from us, are they really so much of a threat? And I don't know. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I loved
Yes.
that.
It's a good through line throughout the show.
Also,
Do what makes you happy, be expressive, and learn to not judge others based on first appearances, whatnot. Case in point, Toru at Kamaket. She wanted to essentially have freedom because there were other creatures there, but they thought they were cosplay. And Toru's like, can I pop out my tail and my wings at least? And Kobayashi's like, go for it, dog. I don't care.
Yeah. Or conversely, when she goes to get that purse snatcher, I think in the first
I
couple of
was
episodes.
just about to
Yes.
mention that. Like, this was after she realised the importance of fitting in
Control.
and being neutral, and she
messed up.
she messed
Technically.
yeah, she did actually mess up, and then she had that moment of, oh shit,
People would be afraid of me based on the fact that I nearly destroyed the shopping district.
But in reality, everybody's like, oh, cool, you caught that purse snatcher. And you see that, you see that acceptance, which is really cool.
and that was a pretty heartfelt moment as well. Just the look of relief on Toru's face over the fact that she was being accepted, even though she just accidentally showed a bit too much of her power.
But yeah,
I think
that's all I
covered
wanted
most
to do.
of the hard-hitting points in the spoiler room.
Yeah. I just love that you've made it into a room now. Can we make that a continued thing? The spoiler
Yeah.
room. Let's go to the
I-
spoiler room.
I like it.
Welcome to the Velvet Spoiler Room.
Oh my god. Can we get like special chairs?
Yes.
Your,
Yes.
your rehabilitation shall ensue.
Welcome to the spoiler room, inmate.
Oh,
Hashtag Persona 5.
All right. Yes. So as you can see, we are starting to converge to other subjects. So
Yes.
I guess this is a good time to call it for all of you that have joined us in this spoiler room of sorts. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Happy
See you
Mother's
later.
Day, or happy belated Mother's Day.
Happy belated Mother's Day. Peace out,
Bye.
y'all.
Thank you, bye bye.
Oyasumi.